السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. My dear brothers and sisters, today inshallah we're going to talk. In the past we talked about Sahabas, we talked about men. Today inshallah we're going to take the example of a woman in Islam. We're going to take example of the first prophet, the first wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Khadija bint Khoweled radiyallahu anha. Why is it important that we learn about her? It's because in order to change the ummah, we have to change ourselves. At the beginning, we have to change the education of our children. We have to educate them about who their role models in this life should be. It shouldn't be X, Y, or Z. It should be the Sahaba. It should be for our children, our daughters. It should be the wives of the Prophet, the Sahabiyat of this ummah. So today, inshallah, we're going to learn about Khadija, and we're going to see the degree and the place she had in the heart of the Prophet ﷺ and in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal. So to put you in context, Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha, she was a rich businesswoman. She used to send men with merchandise up north and south of the peninsula to trade goods for her, and used to take a part of the profits. So the Prophet ﷺ ended up working for her on the recommendation of his uncle. She of course accepted him willingly because she knew he had a very good reputation of being honest and trustworthy, Sadiq Amin. So on his first trip, she sent with him a boy called Maysara, and the role of that boy was to report everything that he saw from the Prophet ﷺ. So during that trip, he saw a lot of miracles. One of them was that the Prophet, from the moment he had left Mecca, he always had a cloud on top of him that was protecting him from the sun. Apart from the miracles, Maysara saw a lot of the barakah that the Prophet ﷺ had. He saw a lot of the good behaviors that the Prophet ﷺ had, and that all of that was before even the revelation of before the Prophet had the revelation. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet had a lot of barakah. He came back with a lot of profit, and the story. She admired what the Prophet ﷺ had. She saw the potential she had. She wanted to marry him. She sent a woman called Nafisa to see if he was interested. We won't go into the details, but they ended up marrying. He was at the age of 25. She was at the age of 40. There was a 15-year gap difference between them two. And they had together 2 boys and 4 girls. MashaAllah. So, a quick note here about the marriage is that Khadija was a wealthy woman and she was older than the Prophet ﷺ. Nowadays, in today's society, it's frowned upon. It doesn't look very good when a man marries a woman older than him. It doesn't look very good when the woman is the one spending on the man. But these are chains that the society put on us. When we look at the Prophet ﷺ, he married a woman that was 15 years older than him. Khadija spent a lot of money on the Prophet ﷺ. She spent a lot of money on Islam overall. So it's important that we do not let ourselves be chained by the society. So Khadija bint Khuwaylid, she had a very special place in the heart of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have to know that in the Sahaba there's grades. There's the one that came before the Hijrah, because this was the time where it was the hardest to be a Muslim. It was the time where in Mecca the Muslims were hated, they were harassed, they were bullied. And the Sahaba at that time, they have a higher grade than the other Sahabas. And even higher than them are the first 10 Sahabas to believe in the Prophet ﷺ. And amongst the first 10 Sahabas to believe in the Prophet ﷺ, the first of them, men and women combined, is Khadija bint Khoweled radiallahu anha. She has this honor of being the first person to accept Islam before even Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And she was an amazing wife for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She never had arguments with him. Their house was always calm, and she was educating. Had good education to her kids. And you have to know that the Prophet is a complete man. So in order to have a woman to complete him, that woman has to be very mature, very smart, and have to have a lot of qualities. And the Prophet, his role and his responsibility was to preach the deen, preach the whole ummah. Imagine having this responsibility on your shoulders. You know, our responsibility is to feed our family, preach Islam on a small level. Him, the responsibility he had was preaching the whole ummah. When he used to go out of his house, he had the worry, I have to convert as much people as possible to Islam. This was the responsibility he had. So with this responsibility, of course, you need a lot of moral support. For that, you need to have a beautiful companion at their house. And this was what Khadija was to him in his house. To the point where, even after her death, he used to mention her a lot in good. To the point where Aisha, another wife of the Prophet ﷺ, who married the Prophet at a time where Khadija was passed away. She was deceased. Although she was deceased, she was still jealous of her. She used to say, كَأَنَّكَ لَمْ تَرَى إِمْرَأَةً غَيْرَهَا. It's as if you hadn't seen a woman other than Khadija. She also used to say, مَا غِلْتُ عَلَى امْرَأَةٍ مِّن نِسَاءِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم مَا غِلْتُ عَلى خَدِيجَةٍ. I haven't been jealous of another woman of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم what I have been jealous of Khadija, even though she had passed away. This is how much the Prophet loved her, and how much of a place she had in his heart. And we have to know also that the place of Khadija has a place in Jannah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised her. So in a hadith it says هذه خديجة قد أتتك معها إناء فيه إدام فإذا هي قد أتتك فاقرأ عليها السلام من ربها مني وبشرها ببيت في الجنة من قصب لا صخب فيه ولا نصب. So while the Prophet was sitting before his wife Khadija, before she entered with a plate of food, Jibreel came to him, giving him a message, a very special message, telling him, هذه خديجة أتت عليك. Khadija has come with you with a plate of food. When she comes, give her the salam from me, Jibreel, and from Allah, and بشرها ببيت في الجنة. Tell her that Allah has granted you a house in paradise from pearls, from lu'lu'. لا صخب فيه ولا نصب. There is no argument in that, and there won't be no hard work in that house. There will be no argument in that house. Can you imagine a human being on this earth having this salute from not only Allah Azza wa Jal but also Jibreel? Allah sent Jibreel, the best of his angel, to send the salam to a human being on this earth. Who's this human being? Khadija bint Khoweled radiallahu anha. Why? Was it because she was rich? Was it because she was only the wife of the Prophet? No. It's because of what she had offered the Ummah and because of what she had offered for the Prophet ﷺ. She was granted paradise, as we see in this hadith. And this salute is not obtained to regular people, you know. This is the level that she had. And it's not also just because she was the wife of the Prophet ﷺ. There's many examples of the wife of messengers that ended up going to hellfire. ضرب الله مثلا الذين كفروا امرأة نوح وامرأة لوط. An example of women that went to hellfire is the wife of Lut and the wife of Nuh. They didn't listen to their messenger, and they ended up going to hellfire. وضرب الله مثلا الذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون. So it's not just because she was the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, it's because of what she had offered him. So the reason Allah gave her this manzila, the reason Allah gave her this place in paradise, the reason Allah gave her this house of pearl, of lu'lu' in paradise, is because she will give a beautiful example. It's the narration of when the Prophet had the revelation for the first time. Jibreel came to him, told him, Iqra. Prophet told him, Ma ana biqari. Told him, Iqra, ma ana biqari. To the end of the story. That day the Prophet, he feared, he was very scared. So he returned directly, not to his Sahabas, he returned home to his wife. He told her, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, Dathiruni, Dathiruni, cover me, cover me. He was scared. He was frightened at that moment. His whole body was trembling. At that moment, Khadija, she knew how to handle the situation. And there's a lot of lessons we can learn from this story. First, she stayed calm. She did not panic with the Prophet ﷺ. After he had calmed down, after he had told her the whole tale of what happened, she chose her word wisely. You know what she said? She said, Kalla. The Prophet, he said, I feared that this is the work of magic, this is work of the shaitan. She told him, Kalla, wallahi la yukhzik Allahu abada. She told him, no, Allah will never disgrace you. Allah will never abandon you. This is not the work of magic. This is the work of Allah. She told him, إنك لتصل الرحم وتصدق الحديث وتحمل الكل وتقري الضيف وتعين على ثواب الحق حق. She told him, you're a good man. You maintain family ties. You speak the truth. You bear the burdens of others. You honor guests. And you support peoples in the time of hardship. Such an incident cannot be magic. Such an incident is something more divine. Why? Because you're a beautiful person. She told him all these characteristics. When she told him that, the Prophet ﷺ automatically, he started calming down, started listening to him. And then Khadija didn't stop there. She went a step further. She went to her cousin, Waraqata ibn Nawfal, who had a lot of knowledge in the scriptures and who was still on the deen of Ibrahim. And when the Prophet ﷺ told him that incident, he told him, you are the messenger of this ummah. So what we learn from this story is that Khadija knew how to handle these situations. Khadija had this confidence and this maturity and wisdom to morally support the Prophet ﷺ. She believed him instantly. She didn't doubt, even though the story he had told her was something out of the ordinary, she believed her instantly. Why? Because he had never lied in his life. Because he was known as the Sadiq al-Amin, the honest and trustworthy. And this is how we should be with our wives. Inshallah, there's a lot more that we can learn from the Sahaba and from Khadija, and a lot we should teach our children at home. So the moral is to take these people as our role models, men, women. We should follow the Sahaba and the Sahabiyat, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. And the quick mention, she also played all this role while taking care of her kids at home. She didn't leave this responsibility and take care of the Prophet and the Ummah. No, she did that and took care of the Prophet and the Ummah. And she ended up dying at the age of 65. And the year she died was called Amul Huzn, the year of sadness. But what we learn, the conclusion here is to learn from these Sahaba, learn from Khadija, teach our families, teach everyone at home, and inshallah we will all learn together and be better together. Subhanakallah wa hamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.